Stats, that's what we're here to talk about today. Just kind of give you guys some tips, tricks, good things to know, have conversations with clients, and hopefully we learned some stuff here today. Feel free to stop me. We can ask questions, talk through some of the stuff as we go. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Hopefully, quick with this one. All right. A lot of numbers. I'm going to just kind of break this down. Overall market, obviously, we talk about 2020, we have obviously COVID pop up, and then housing market kind of goes haywire. These are some quick stats of what we're looking at as far as big city numbers, and then kind of the secondary cities, some of the smaller cities. So as you know, big cities, crazy populated, everyone's stuck in their little tiny apartments and their little, all jammed up. City doesn't sound a whole lot of fun to me, but you'll see numbers across the board. New York City, up 40%. Since kind of the 2022 kind of peak, that's when they kind of said everything kind of topped out a little bit as far as number of sales go, and it's kind of been kind of on the downtrend since. But prices in New York are still up 6.1% since 2022. DC, Northern Virginia, up 27%, up 1.7% in the last year and a half. Chicago, 35%, up still 5.1%. LA, San Francisco, you'll see these ones are up overall, but you also see since the last year and a half, they are either stagnant or decreasing. Atlanta's still up overall, slower growth now, same thing with Boston. Key takeaway here is look at these big market sort of cities. Where are newspapers based out of? New York, LA, San Francisco, what are they experiencing? Correct. San Francisco's down 5.3 over the last year and a half. So people are fleeing these cities too. So you don't see as many sales. Now look on the right-hand side of this, we look at Richmond. Richmond is up 45.7% since March of 2022 or 2020. We are still up since over the last year and a half. You see some of these other cities. You see here Charlottesville up overall as well, not quite as much as us. Same thing as Virginia Beach. Look at some of the mid-market cities here, kind of on the East Coast. Raleigh, they shot up really big early on. They've been kind of stagnant since. Winston-Salem, also in North Carolina, they are very kind of on pace with Richmond and actually out exceeding what we got going on here. Jacksonville, obviously Florida went absolutely crazy there towards the beginning. They're still up overall, but things have slowed there as well. In Charleston, South Carolina, they are up. That's a nice coastal town, so they are still getting people moving down that direction. But big takeaways, like I said, with this is people are still moving from the big cities. Obviously, your price points in all these big cities are way up too. Who can tell me what Northern Virginia's average price point is for sales? Take a guess.
762.
Anybody else?
9.
Jake's wrong.
650.
Beth Ann's wrong.
925.
Right in front too. We're at 832 is the average price point for. I guess Jake went price is right, but there we go. So when we talk about sales prices in the 800s, what is Richmond overall?
4 or something.
430. Okay. So we talk about prices going up, rates going up, everything there. The DC property that's 8 something and change. Talk about that. That is extremely high mortgage payments, rates. Come down to Richmond, and you can kind of get in that 450 range. Your payment's half. Okay, that's why you're seeing Richmond kind of outseed some of the pace of some of these other markets. All right, does all that make sense? All right. New construction. Got Mr. Rogers in here. Can you fill us in on what happened in 2007, 2008?
2007 and 8, I would like to not remember that. So I appreciate the ask, but I'm not going to tell you.
All right.
2007 and 8, tons of inventory and no buyers, basically. And so that led to a very tough market.
Okay. So look at this. This is all new construction, so new houses. You'll see once we hit 2007, everything really drops off. Okay, we've been trying to climb back out of that hole, but then kind of top left corner of that red box, we had a giant deficit of houses being built. Okay, Mr. Rogers, once again, what happened to a lot of the smaller mom and pop, smaller builders over that time period?
Unfortunately, they got out of the business or no longer in the business.
The big builders, what type of houses do they typically build?
more square footage for the dollar type.
Are they building a whole lot of ranchers right now?
Typically not, because they can't fit them on the lot.
So we got very few starter homes coming on the market, which means they're building all the 4-bed, 2.5 baths on up, okay? First timers, what do they typically want to have for a house? Ranchers, townhouses, 3-bed, 2-bath, they don't need the 4, 2.5 just yet. So we're kind of squeezing what's being built as far as inventory, so there's less of these first-time home buyer houses out there. Also, talk about some older folks. What do they want to be in? Ranchers, okay? You see where we have a big deficit as far as kind of on either end of the spectrum. So first-time buyers have a tough time getting into, houses that make sense for them. And then also the people who are trying to downsize, they may be in those 4-bed, 2.5-bath houses now, but they got nowhere really to go. I know there's been a big push for 55 and up stuff. I think that's a big solution to a lot of our inventory issues overall. If we take people who are in those houses that have a ton of equity, we'll talk about equity here in a minute, but they have all the equity, then they are able to kind of swap out houses. A lot of times though, they are kind of swapping out houses, but they're getting a lot less square footage. It's all brand new, but they're downsizing from that 4, 2.5 to the 3, 2, 3, 2.5, but it's the same price for less. Are older people slower or faster to make decisions? Slower, okay? Does that mean they're kind of they also love their rates. They experienced rates from back in the day in the teens. So when they saw them at 2s and 3s, they were licking their chops. Finally, they got down. So with that, there are a lot of people who have a ton of equity in their houses. Do they want to leave those rates or swap houses and get less house for more payment? No. All right. So we'll see. That's why a lot of people are kind of sticking in and around their houses right now. Okay. We're all going to kind of jump around with this. There's stats all kind of flow into each other a little bit, but I just do want to talk financing a little bit. Average interest rate over the last 30 years, over 7.5. Okay. Nate, what is it today for a conventional loan?
7, 7.25, depending on credit, down payment, PTI.
Okay. So are we right in range where it is historically? Answer is yes.
Yeah.
A little better.
Average loan term, 6 to 7 years is the only average amount of time that people hold on to their loan. Why is that? Refinance, remove. So when people say, "Oh my God, the rate is terrible, it sucks, I can't, I don't love my payment," it's a temporary thing. You're not going to hold on to this forever. Once you're in the market, you have opportunities to take advantage of the market. If you don't have a house, you're at the mercy. You need to buy one. You have to buy one. You're at the mercy of whatever the interest rate is. If you need a house, you got to go get a house. Okay. But if you have a house, then there's opportunities to refinance or hold out until rates get better. But if you don't have a house, you should probably get one. All right. $7 per 1,000 of financing. This is kind of a quick little easy tip if you're negotiating contracts, you're talking with buyers, and we have a $5,000 difference between the seller where they countered you back at and where we're at. 7 times 5 is what, $35 a month. All right, we're going to lose the house for what it costs to go get 2 Big Mac meals at McDonald's right now. Okay, do not lose out on houses for a minimal amount of money. This is also a good stat just to be able to share with people when they're thinking about, it's not going to be an extra, $5,000 out of pocket. We're talking about $35 a month. For most people that's doable, makes it much more relatable and easier for them to kind of digest. Okay. Average first-time buyers down payment amount 6%. So a lot of people think you have to have 20. That's a kind of a big misnomer out there, and that's we got to make sure we're educating our renters, our people who are not in houses yet. You do not have to have all the money. You do not have to have 20% down. So obviously there's benefits of having 20% down. You do not have to have that. All right. The average repeat buyer down payment amount 17%. A lot of that is going to be from equity from house number 1, and hopefully they're a little bit further along, job, careers, have gotten pay raises, got a little bit more money in their pocket. All right. Next one's probably my favorite. Rent is 100% interest. For everyone who says, "I just got the phone with a guy who's waiting for rates to come down," he's renting. Okay. I'd like for come down from 100 to 7 is pretty good, right? So we got to be able to pitch this to our people and let them know that they are renting. Even though rates are high, the sooner you get in, just kind of like the stock market, the sooner you get in, the longer you stay in, the better your gains are over time. Okay. Lawrence Yoon, he's an NAR chief economist. He said we'll never see rates in the 3s again in his lifetime. So I think he's like 60-ish, so we do some math, but, don't expect them to be back in the threes anytime soon is what we're, talking about there, okay? Another quick little note, you've seen a lot of houses that have been sitting for 60, 90, 100 some days right now, okay? What were the rates when those houses were listed?
8%.
Closer to 8, okay? I just saw one, they hadn't done a price drop on it, but if you look at it from a standpoint of what's my client's monthly mortgage payment going to be, there's been a giant reduction in what the monthly payment is going to be. The price is still there, the rate is now lower, they're able to kind of afford more, okay? So, on the one we just got under contract, we were able to negotiate back it on for 90 days. Also, you look at that time period, that's kind of, November, December, historically a slower time for real estate. And we were able to negotiate, I think, $25,000 off the price. And I think they got a great house in a great area. It's not the prettiest, but they're gonna be in there for 10, 15, 20 years. So they're okay. And I still think we probably technically overpaid for it a little bit, but I think we're gonna see rates continue to drop down. We're gonna have the buyer demand increase, and then you're gonna see prices start to shoot back up here. So we're still limited inventory overall. Make sure you're checking in with your lender. For those people who were pre-qualified over the last kind of 6 to 8 months or the last year who have not bought anything yet, they may want to re-talk to everybody and see where do we land now. I know I talked with Abby yesterday. We have some clients that are, they were 250 or below 6 months ago. We'll hopefully be able to move their price point up to 275. They still have a tough time, yes, but they're able to go forward more now. So make sure we're staying in contact with these people. Lead follow-up is vital as far as getting people into houses and under contract. All right. Any questions on this slide here? All right. First-time home buyer down payment amounts. So these are just kind of give you a range of what to see for first-time home buyers. Still 16% of buyers are still putting down $0. They're just VHDA loans, FHA plus loans, so they're still able to get done. Obviously, it's not a ton of them. 1 to 5% is going to be kind of your FHA loans for the most part, up to your 5% conventionals. You got 22% there, and obviously you can see the numbers for the rest of them. You are seeing 26% are putting down more than 20%. Those are probably the people who are maybe now married. They're able to go buy that for 2.5. They've saved up for a long time. We'll talk about some more stats on that here in a minute. Renting versus buying. Median rent price in the U.S. Is $1942. Average mortgage payment, $1964. Okay. If we're talking about renting versus buying, go ahead and buy. You'll see the net worth sort of comparison on the right-hand side there. The very bottom blue, that's the renter. You can barely see them because they don't have a whole lot of net worth because they don't have a house. Housing provides a lot of benefits as far as your financial picture overall. So the earlier you get in, the better you are. Equity. 39% of houses are owned free and clear. It means they have no mortgage at all on them. So we talk about foreclosures, things like that. Do we think we're gonna have a lot of foreclosures coming anytime soon? No, because guess what? People who've been in houses for 5 years, most of them have over 50% equity in their house, almost already. 32% of houses have less than 50% equity. Those are people who bought fairly recently. Okay. On that, 25% of sales in 2023 were all cash. Okay, is that some people who maybe have done pretty well in the real estate market, have had houses cashed in and they're able to go buy one all cash? Mortgage rates don't mean a thing to them. Okay, those are all and 25% is a huge number in my opinion as far as number of cash sales. You also see people cash out of their houses in Northern Virginia. Like I said, the average price point was what, $832, I think we said. On that, if they come down to Richmond, if they have 50% equity, like almost 70% of the people have over 50%, we're running outright. They're cashing in their $800, and they're going to either have $400,000 to $800,000 in their pockets, ready to go buy a house. They come in here, they pay all cash, they're beating out people. Okay, bigger metropolitan areas making their way to Richmond and secondary cities. Okay. Someone has lived in their home for over 10 years, they have over $200,000 in equity on average. Okay, we talk about house prices increasing by 45% in Richmond over the last 3 years. Extrapolate that out over 10, and numbers look even more crazy and great for homeowners. Over the last year, the average homeowner gained $14,300 in equity during that time period. Same thing, remember when people were saying, you know, this price is crazy in 2021? I can't believe they're paying this much for the house. You think those people look pretty damn good and glad they bought when they did? Okay, like I said, the whole thing here, you look at real estate is long term. It is a good investment, usually outpaces the market. Okay, here's some stats for in and around Richmond. I just kind of took the three main counties surrounding Richmond, so Hannaford, Henrico, Chesterfield, as well as Richmond City. You'll see here, obviously the green column is going to be our average price point. 2019, 312. Here in 2023, 457 on that. You also notice the blue column. You see we are going up on blue, and then what happened? Fall down, fall down. What happened in that time period? Rates went up. Went up a lot, right? So all those people who were thinking about moving had their, you know, they're in their house, they refinance, they say, hey, maybe it's time to go jump into the next one. Well, they got a 2.5% interest rate, they don't want to move. All right, and I can't, you know, blame them. People who have to move are people who are moving. People who want to move think it'd be nice to have a little bit bigger house. They're like, I'm going to wait until rates come down. Okay. Meanwhile, while we have the amount of, and the blue is also supply too, so we got to think of it that way. So we have less supply, and you see that home prices continue to do what? Supply demand. It's very simple. We don't have enough houses out there. You're going to see prices continue to increase. Okay. Same sort of counties criteria here: new construction versus resale. You'll see this here. The left-hand side is going to be your new construction. Average price point was in 2019 $392. We're up to $512 in 2023. All right. You notice that the dip in the blue is not nearly as drastic as it is on the right-hand chart. Okay, same thing there. Who has the inventory? Builders. Okay, there's not enough resale stuff out there. Builders have it. So you'll see they have kind of fared the market pretty well over the last 5 years. They haven't seen decreases, and I think we're going to have probably a record number of you know, new construction builds here coming up this year. So big rebound there. They still have inventory. As rates will continue to decrease, we should see the amount of listings increase on the resale market. Okay. That people are going to feel a little more comfortable. They're going to start to realize that, hey, 6 is 6. Historically, this is very average, about what we were expecting. It's not in the 3s, and it's not in the 8s. All right, the 6s look pretty good right now. So by the end of the year, they're expecting things to be kind of in the low 6s from everything I've kind of read, heard. Depends on what you read, but I think consensus is between 6 and 6.5 is what to expect by the end of the year. Like I said, that is normal. That is average. So the buyers and sellers will start to realize that and just know. Okay. Richmond days on market. This is the past 3 years. You'll see we had a 71% increase in days on market. It's still 12. 13. Yeah. So yeah. So you see 71% increase in from 2021 to 2022. This is where stats can be kind of funny. That seems like things are drastic, dropping off a cliff. Guess what? Things are still selling pretty fast. All right, they're not going anywhere. Anything, they're still flying off the shelves. 13 now. All right, is that still pretty good? I think it's great. All right. Who's been in business longer than 5 years? Okay. What, Rodney? What were days on market in 2015? You think?
Probably 60.
I don't have the stat for that, but I was wondering. Yeah, so probably 2-3 months. If you go back even farther than 2012, you're looking closer to 5-6 months supply. All right. Same thing. We just don't have a whole lot of houses on the market. Things still move extremely fast. Here's your month supply of inventory. We are all the way up to 1.6. 33% increase. Sounds scary. We still don't have enough houses on the market.
Oh, and a lot of those 1.6 are yucky homes that are coming on the market because they've been waiting for top dollar for yucky houses.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you will see that, and there's maybe a stat in here too, but 26% of houses have to do price reductions now. Okay. List price versus sold price here over the last 3 years. You'll see on this one, far left-hand column, kind of beginning of 2020. You see, obviously, we kind of move into the COVID time periods here, where we were already getting close to 100% on the list price side, what we're actually selling for, that kind of peaked at the 106%, kind of that's what the peak in 2022, what we were talking about, 106% of list price with houses are going for. Right now, and this goes until this December stats is where it dips back below 100%. Like I said, that's when rates are still on the higher side. You have less buyers out there. Expect this to probably start shooting back up in the spring. It always goes, to me, you know, kind of Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, spring market into summer. Okay, it's always kind of that loop going up. All right. Next one here, foreclosures. Talk about these a little bit. This is like the total number of foreclosures in the market. So right now there's less than 20. Okay, people who want to wait for foreclosures, they're not coming. They're not going to be here anytime soon. You may have a couple here and there, people who got in just completely way over their heads, but it's not going to be a giant flood of these houses. As prices continue to increase, even if someone bought their house a year or two ago, most likely they're still going to have a positive equity position because the stats are still going up. Okay, so they're not going to be completely underwater. Some demographic stuff. Over the last 2 years, 7 million babies born, 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces, and then also 50 million job changes. So that can go from people who were in big cities. Now they're work from home. That means they can spread out from New York and they can come down to Richmond, or they can be in DC and commute back once or twice a week, and their price point gets cut in half. So that's why we're continuing seeing the spread out of all of this. A fun one for me talking about first timers and also baby boomers. People who, number one reason for moving in 2024, who knows what it is?
Downsizing.
Family. Moving closer to family, okay? So you've got a lot of people who maybe whose kids moved out of town, out of state. They couldn't afford New York City or to buy a house in DC as a first-time home buyer. They end up in Richmond. Where's mom and dad want to come visit now? Richmond, all right? They can cash in on their house. It's been there for 30 years, dilapidated. They need to do a bunch of work on it. They're tired of cutting grass. They come down to Richmond. They buy a house, something like Stag's Leap, with 55 and up. Everything's maintained. You don't have to do anything with it. Able to cash in. A lot of times people are moving here from out of state. Who knows the amount of transactions that are going to be crossing state lines in 2024? Take a guess.
20%.
Close.
I think it's 28.
25 is what they're expecting. So 25% of transactions this upcoming year will be crossing state lines. All right, that's always good. I know I'm part of the Feeney coaching deal, and there is a network of realtors throughout the country. So if you have people that are moving out of state, you can make a quick phone call or jump online real quick, find the realtor that kind of makes sense and match up with what the people are looking for, make that introduction, that connection. You collect 25% referral fee on the back end. I had one talking about job changes. I was working with a doctor at VCU. They bought here a year and a half ago. They're kind of serial movers, which were great. I love them. And they moved out to Denver. Okay, I made one phone call to an agent. They ended up buying an $800,000 house out there. I think I got a commission check for making a phone call for about $7 grand. So that's pretty good to do. So just know if you are crossing state lines, be willing and able to try to make some connections, and so you can kind of collect on the back end of that.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So, I've been working with Lucy Brightwell forever, and we have a lot of people who have that exact scenario happen, and they call us because they don't know how to make it happen. So there's a referral form in the transaction desk that you can fill out. The one thing I will tell you that when I personally fill it out for myself or my agents, and I send it, it's not yet signed and agreed to by the other broker. I do not put the person's phone number and email in. I put their name. I wait for them to sign it, send it back, and then in my email it says, once you have signed and agreed to the 25% referral fee, then contact information will be delivered. It's my safety. Like, if all of a sudden the person is non-responsive or kind of snippy or whatever, I've had them referred down to South Carolina where the prices weren't that high, and then they were said yes, were nice, had the credentials, had the time in the market, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, well, if it's only $200,000, I don't really want to pay a referral fee, but now they've already got my customer's contact number. I want it signed off and sent back to me beforehand. Then you send just that to your manager and to our department. Like, it's not a whole file like you would have for a listing or a pending, but you need to have that referral form turned into Jennifer and them so that they know when a check comes in with a person's name on it, who it belongs to, so it doesn't wander around at hometown for a while. Cause I just keep the ones that aren't claimed, just saying. But that's on there already, so, and if it asks for a broker signature, you do not have to wait to talk to your broker, put it in Authenticign and send it to them automatically, send them a text saying, hey, I need you to sign this, they will just swipe through and you'll be done in like 5 minutes, okay? All the managers are awesome here about that. I had somebody in another company have to wait 3 weeks for a broker signature.
Yeah, same thing with that too. Like Shannon mentioned, we want to get signatures on stuff. Unfortunately, this is not like a handshake world all the time anymore. It's nice if you have those people, but still get things signed. Better be safe than sorry. I'm on that same thing with buy agreements. Always get those signed up front. Make sure people are locked in and know what's going on. All right, so we got some of the older folks are moving further away, maybe to more affordable spots, or maybe to downsize to places like, you know, we had some of those other cities on there, you know, down in Florida, Charleston, a little bit closer to the beaches, things along those lines. 33 to 45-year-olds moved 21 miles away from the previous residence. To me, what this stat says is these were city folk that just moved to the suburbs. Right? Does that make sense there? They like where they live, they want to be there, but they're kind of tired of the city life. They move out somewhere relatively close. They're not making a ton of giant moves across country, usually fairly local. On average, people move every 8 years, okay? That's a great stat. I go back and try to look at my past sales and try to identify who's been in their house too long, who's coming up on time for a change, who's been married, who's had kids, talk about those household formations, babies, marriages, divorces, job changes. These are all reasons to reach out and contact your people. So please do that. Every 8 years is a good way. Obviously, people can move sooner than that. They can move later than that. Especially people who are in those smaller first-time / downsized houses. That's who I try to focus a lot of my time on, so the better candidates to move, rather than the person who just built or bought 4, 2.5, 3, 4, 5 years ago and only have 1 or 2 kids. They're probably going to be able to be in there for a while. They have a great rate. I'm not focused on them nearly as much. Okay. And first-time home buyers, and then also the baby boomers is where I try to focus a lot of my time here right now. Moving on to that, 52% of sellers in 2024 will be baby boomers. So kind of that 55 and up crowd. They have realized the most gains as far as equity goes over the last couple of years. So they got a lot of money in their pockets. A lot of times they've been in their houses for a long time. Either, like I said, we talk about 39% own them outright. It means they have all of it there, and they can go buy their next place in cash. They can also help out with family moves. They can help out with the son or daughter's down payment amount. Those are all reasons we're seeing some of those price points increase. Average age of the first-time home buyer is now 35. Age when people move out of the house, 26. 45 million people between 26 and 35 in the country. I believe 3 million, I think there's 3 million households, or not households, renters, that make over $150,000 combined per year that are still renting. Okay, so people are renting, you gotta kind of show them the light. A lot of good young professionals out there. I've even had people that have bought investment properties instead of they're kind of those bigger cities. I've had people from Northern Virginia buy rental properties down here. They're still renting up there just because it is a good investment overall. They can't afford Northern Virginia, but they can afford Richmond, and they've kind of set down some investment properties in here. 28% of sales were to first-time buyers. They're still a big part of what's going on. They are the ones who are struggling a little bit, but do not turn first-time home buyers away. If you're in this business for a long period of time, like most of you plan on being in, first-time buyers are the life of your business. Okay, first-time buyers turn into first-time sellers and second-time buyers. That becomes kind of the 2-for-1 deal down the road, and each time they subsequently buy after that, 2 deals every single time. So start off with one, build a great relationship with them, continue that. You can help them find their next house. Okay. Buyers, on average, see about 5 houses before they actually make a purchase. About 10 weeks from the initial appointment to going under contract. And then baby boomers overtook millennials as the biggest group of home buyers in 2023. Okay. Obviously, we have some buyers I've been working with for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I had one he bought in 2022. I started showing him the houses in 2013. He thought the market was no good back then, everything was too high. He bought a house, I think, for $320 that I had sold for, and I doubled into this one, I think I sold it for $260 a couple years prior. We originally started looking with him, looking at around, you know, $170, $200 back in the day, which he could have bought that house. He paid almost double for it, you know, 9 years later. Okay, so I said, the earlier you get in, the better. Richmond's a growing city, we're not a shrinking city, so I would continue to expect those sort of trends. Some realtor stats: 80% of realtors have been in the business less than 5 years. What that tells me, there's, you know, still a lot of people who haven't experienced a regular market. They're used to the craziness of you know, kind of post-COVID. We're also seeing now where, you know, I have a home inspection actually going on right now. That, you know, we haven't done a whole lot of home inspections, haven't needed to do it. Those are going to be back. We need to know how to be able to handle those. So make sure you kind of sharpen up on some of those you know, things as far as houses go. It's not just, you know, look at it and it's a hunk of junk, but you gotta, you know, kind of bend over and take it. You can have inspections again now. That is not going to be for every single house, because 31% of houses still have multiple offers. Okay, so the good ones still go in good areas. The ones that are overpriced, or maybe they kind of hunk of junk, they are starting to sit a little bit, especially with rates on the higher end. All right. 1% of sales in the U.S. were for sale by owner. That is the lowest in history. Against what you probably think or read, you think everyone's going for sale by owner. People want professionals in this business. They want people to know what they're doing. It's a difficult business to navigate. There's a lot more going on than used to be when, you know, it was, you know, 6 months to sell a house. People would probably try to sell more on their own because they're not going to wait 6 months for nothing to happen. Now, if you want to have somebody who knows what they're doing, professional, keep the deal to the closing table. 63% of transactions were referral based. That means they got it, you know, from kind of their natural market, able to generate leads based off of past clients using their COI. You know, you notice the other, I guess, 37% were either online, or they just picked their realtor out of the hat on that, but still stay in contact with their clients, because 89% of buyers, 85% of sellers will use or refer their agent again. Do a good job, people come back. Okay, there's enough options out there. As you see, there's over 6,500 realtors in CVR MLS. People are going to go back to kind of what they know. They don't want to just pick out that random person out of there. They don't know what they've done, how long they've been in the business, do they know how to get a house to the closing table. They're going to go with who helped them last time if you stay in contact with them. So make sure you make that a point. Always try to generate from current and past clients. 22.6% of homes had a price reduction. That's just something good to know. We talked about those houses sitting out there for a little bit longer. Rates were high. They want to ask tip-top dollar for their hunk of junk. You know, they're going to have to make some concessions here at some point. A lot of times that they do is realtors will overshoot the price. All right, pricing is going to become more and more and more important these days. We've got to make sure we're priced competitively in order to get those multiple offers. If you kind of overshoot the price, you're going to know fairly early on. Or some houses may just be a little further out and not as desirable for people with current prices and rates. So you got to be cognizant of that and ready to shift and adjust as needed. All right. And yeah, still 24% of sellers still sold over list price, which is a great stat to be able to share with sellers if priced properly. Okay. These are some good to know sort of inspection things. These are just general deals when I'm going through a house and talking with people. You know, roofs. It's always a big one. How old's the roof? How much life do I have left in my roof? Usually your 3-tab shingle, which is one that lays flat. They don't overlap at all. On there, that's going to be a 20 to 25 years. As far as life of that goes, dimensional shingle, which is on most houses these days, 30 to 50 years on that. Expect about $10,000 to $20,000 if you need to get that replaced. Obviously, that depends on the size of the house. And these are just big kind of round numbers for point of reference more than anything. HVAC, they say statistically after 9 years, start budgeting for replacement. If you maintain your systems, they tend to last much longer. But once you kind of get up around year 10, just know it's got some age to it that may be coming down the line. Expect kind of, you know, if you need a full system redo, around $8,000 to $15,000. Hot water heater, if there's a hot water heater that's 35 years old, I don't care. We're going through a house. There's going to be something that's wrong. There's going to be something that's old. I use the used car analogy all the time. You're gonna have dings, dents, and leaks. We wanna make sure the main components of the car are working well. Same thing with the house. Your hot water heater is usually the least of your concerns as far as those items go, okay? Hardboard and wood siding, that needs to be maintained and painted usually every 4 to 5 years, with an asterisk on there of you need to do touch-ups kind of every year to make sure you don't get to the point where it's being damaged. It's an ongoing maintenance thing. I try to shy, especially first-time home buyers, away from that anytime I can, just because it's not fun to go drop, $8,000 to $20,000 on replacing siding. Maybe it helps out with curb appeal. Still not a fun thing to spend money on. In fact, none of these things are really fun to spend money on. Rather spend it on kitchens, bathrooms, and all of that. Windows, $400 to $600 installed on that as per window. Crawl space is one that pops up all the time. Vapor barrier, mold, mildew, encapsulations. Obviously, they kind of get up and up. That depends on the size of the house. But these are good things to be able to point out to your buyers as you're walking through a house. If you can see that their shingle is sticky paper with sand on it, there's not a lot of sand left on it, then we probably need to be budgeting for replacement. Let them know that up front, especially if we are in a competitive situation, we have to waive anything, inspections, anything along those lines. We want to kind of know going into it what sort of budget they need to kind of plan with for things that are coming up and coming down the line. So, any other people got stats or things like that as far as houses and maintenance? Yeah. All right. That may be all I have for you guys. I talked pretty fast on that. Does anyone want to talk through any of those stats? Have questions on anything, general stats? We got Nate here. If you guys have anything financing wise.
Nate, are you seeing more people doing bridge loans?
It's a popular thing to talk about. It's not a popular product because it's fee intensive.
So is if closing costs on a regular loan is like 8 to 10, on a bridge it's like 13, 14?
10 to 12, yeah.
So like 3,000 or 4,000 more. Okay.
Usually a client can get the same result with an equity line or some other, different means other than a bridge loan.
Yeah, and I sat down with Nate yesterday, and he going over treasury yields and all this stuff. I figured I'd spare everyone that, so Nate, I do appreciate that. But I don't know what any of that stuff means. I know how to kind of track the housing stuff. I'll look to Dr. Lawrence Yoon for some of those stats along there. But anybody else have anything else as far as stats or anything else? Have any stats that you use each day or during your encounters with clients?
No, I think I've just got like one reminder, only because I've been in real estate forever. When gas prices go down, people start looking further and further out. You just want to make sure that people are not pricing themselves out. Like I have a couple right now that bought a house in Jarrett, Virginia, and they were so excited. It was brand new and everything else. And when gas prices hit 4 and 5, they couldn't make their house payment. And so, you just want to be cognizant if you have younger people or first-time home buyers that are looking way, way out because of the current prices. They're not going to stay that way. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. They need to have like some sort of conversation in the fact that those further out houses drop value when gas prices get really high, and they rebound as the gas prices, get more reasonable.
Yeah, correct. And also, we got a lot of people who are in and around Richmond who can't, afford Richmond anymore. They're either stuck in their current house, or they've been renting, or what you kind of do is to drive farther out until the prices get better. I think is what Mike Schnall had said a couple weeks ago. So be prepared to get in your cars. Just know that. Also, we look at Richmond. Where are things going? I mean, I look at Henrico is fairly built out. Short Pump is now in New Goochland. They're kind of tapped out there. Look at places like New Kent. They're expanding 64, going through there. That's going to open that up a whole lot more. Not going to have near as much traffic on 64. Things will flow a lot better. That's on the airport side of town. You're close to Williamsburg. There's golf courses. There's Colonial Downs. A lot of people who are making their way. They're kind of close to the beach. There's the historical aspect of Williamsburg to it. North Virginia comes right down. It's 295, 64. They're on their way there. So that part of town is growing a lot. Obviously, we just talked about Goochland a little bit. Who's heard of Green City? All right, so you guys know, anybody brief us on what we got going on there? Maybe.
It's happening.
Or maybe is it happening? Or what's
Definitely happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Green City is supposed to be a kind of the new Coliseum. It's going to be going in right at 295, 95 and Parham Road right there. So that'll be a big stadium for concerts, for venues. If you ever get a sports team, that'll be going in there. You'll see, I think it's called the Retreat at 1. Look at Route 1. There's a ton of stuff going in there. If we look at a map, that is right where 95, 295, you got Route 1 going there, you got 301 there. Everyone can get there fairly easily. They just put the new kind of indoor sports spot right where VCC used to be. So you're seeing a lot more people come to Richmond for sporting events, all their youth athletics. The beach can get here in an hour and a half. DC can get here in an hour, hour and a half, 4 hours, depending on traffic. Charlottesville can still get here. Chesterfield can still get there too, as well. So yes, that's going to be a popular spot, and more people are coming to the area. You know, kind of the counties outside. Obviously, Chesterfield has grown a ton in the last 10 years. There's still space to move in Chesterfield. That is still growing. It's just kind of pushes you further and further out from the city. You know, what Brandermill used to be really far away, and now you've got to go down to Mad Greens, another 10 minutes past that. So you can get further and further out. Richmond's growing. It's a great thing.
We're seeing a ton in Dinwiddie and French George.
Yeah.
We've got small builders down there.
Mhm.
Actually, we've got a small builder that they're building smaller houses.
Mhm.
And so Dinwiddie and French George used to be like falling off the map, is now you can get on 85 and get on 95. and
Yeah, as long as there's internet, a lot of people
Yeah.
can work from home, so it doesn't really, they don't have to be in the city or close to, work. It doesn't matter as much, anymore. So we're talking about 50 million job changes. So that's essentially 1 in every, 6 people, in the country changed jobs or changed careers or went from working in the office to working at home. Those are all things that cause people to move. And the biggest takeaway of all this stuff here today is we gotta find people who want to move. Don't be afraid of the first-time home buyers. Get out there ready to go, and also focus on those baby boomers. Get in touch, find out what 55 and up stuff is going to be coming in. That's what's going to free up inventory the most. And then said, that stuff, as rates come down, inventory is going to go back down again too. So getting people early, and then done.
Yeah, one thing, and it kind of ties in what Kevin's talking about, but it's very easy to see the amount of apartments that have been built around the Richmond market. And the first-time home buyer in 2015, that average age was 28, now it's 36. All of those are being held, or housed, I should say, in apartments. To Kevin's point, keeping in touch with them, that's gonna be a big bubble that's gonna hit our area for homes coming up in the next, I would say, starting in the next year to the next 7 or 8 years, because a lot of people have moved to Richmond, they like Richmond, they've stayed here. Chesterfield County graduates 17,000 seniors every year, okay? Those seniors are going to college, 2/3 of them going to college, some of them don't, but most of them are now coming back and will stay here. They're going into apartments right now. That first-time home buyer age has increased to 36 years old now. Those are the ones that are gonna be really filling your market in the next year to 10 years. So just,
Todd, I think we all wanna know, when is RCI coming south of the river?
Never.
maybe one day.
Okay.
Bring some land so we can do it.
Yeah, I've got one person working with Mike right now on a piece of 6 acres, off of Warwick, which is like city of Richmond, not technically south side, but it's technically south.
Yeah, guys, get out there and spread the good news. I mean, these are all awesome sort of stats. Like I said, Richmond's a kind of a place to be. People are coming here. People want to stay here too. I know I never really wanted to go anywhere else. I wanted to come back and live in and around Richmond. That brother went out to Atlanta. He bounced around, Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina. He's back in Richmond. Richmond's awesome. Okay, get out there and sell it.
All right.
He's free.